Hi and welcome to my channel. I'm Mark on RCNerd74. In today's video I'm gonna give you a short look on the first steps I did on the build of my RC Scrappy bush plane. For those who didn't watch my first video already, you can find the link in this video above somewhere here. The inspiration for this build project comes from the full-scale custom build of a carbon cup built by Mike Patey. He did a crazy custom bush plane based on an airframe of a carbon cup, and my plan is to reproduce this plane with the most interesting features the full-scale Scrappy has and build these features on the RC plane too. First, I want to give you a short look at some small issues I found on the plane, how it's factory made. One is on one of the elevators. You have the hinges already glued in and everything is installed, but as you can see, the lower part on the picture here, the elevator is not centered on the horizontal stabilizer. And it's a massive offset of the center, and the other one is okay, but one side is not. I decided to cut off the hinges later, the stock hinges, and install real hinges to eliminate this issue here, and also to reduce the drag to make the rudders move easier than with the factory installed hinges. Another issue is also about hinges is on the wings, on the ailerons. There you can see that on the outer end of the aileron there is no hinge, so you can move the aileron pretty much, and that's definitely not how it should be. So I think every carbon cup from Horizon is built the same way, so every kit has this issue. So I will solve this the same way, like the elevator. I will cut off the whole ailerons from the wing and install real hinges, and I will get a way better stable aileron with real hinges. And I will also install a hinge on the outer end of the aileron just to avoid this moving aileron. Another little issue I found is on the on-off switch. One thing is that I don't like on-off switches anyway, so I will remove the whole on-off switch. But the other thing is that the mount for the on-off switch is glued really bad, so you can move the whole mount around, and that's not the way the factory should install the on-off switch mount. So I will remove the whole mount, the whole switch, and solder the two cables together to have immediate power as soon as I connect the battery to the plane. Then I did a short weight check on all parts in stock condition. The reason for this is because I just want to compare what effect the modifications have on the weight of the plane. So I checked the fuselage, the wings, the rudder and the elevator, just to have a comparison if my plane gets heavier or lighter after the modifications. I'm pretty sure that the weight is increasing, so the plane will be a little heavier after all the modifications. That shouldn't be an issue because it's a really well-powered plane, so that will work pretty good also with a little more weight on the plane. Then I had to do some steps to prepare the plane to start the build. One thing was to remove the original stickers and also the factory paint. There are two solutions you can do to remove the paint. One is you sand the whole paint off, but that's pretty hard work and the foam sometimes doesn't react as you want to have it with too much sanding. So I tried to avoid too much sanding. My solution was to use some tape like you use it to wrap post parcels. With this tape I just wrapped the plane in different steps and just pulled off the whole tape again. A lot of paint came off already after the first try, but as you can see, it's not everywhere the same. Some spots the paint came off pretty well and on other spots not. The main reason why I removed the paint is I want to cover the whole plane with Oracal self-adhesive foil, and if I put self-adhesive foil on bad sticking paint on the plane, the Oracal won't stick well on the plane too, because it simply pulls off the paint from the fuselage or from the wings. So that's why I put all the tape all over the plane and pulled off the loose paint, just to have left the paint which sticks well on the foam. Like this I can avoid loose Oracal on the finished plane. The reason why I didn't take off the paint on the winglets is because I will cut off the winglets, because the full-scale Scrappy doesn't have any winglets, so I will cut them off and do the same shape of the wingtips like the full-scale Scrappy. And the little surprise was on the rudder. So one side, as you can see, the paint came off pretty well, but on the other side I tried as hard as I could with the same tape and the paint sticked extremely well. I have no idea why this is, but when I know that the paint will stick and the foil won't have a problem with this, that will be okay to use the Oracal directly onto the paint. But that was just a bit surprising because it doesn't make much sense. It's the same paint, it's the same thing they did to paint the part, so no idea what's the difference, but just a fact. After the first try to remove the paint, there were still some areas on the fuselage with too much paint for what I wanted to have as a result. So I tried different things and I figured out that when you put on some tape on a place where you have color left, like here, you just need to rub a bit on the tape just to heat it up a bit, and then it sticks a little better on the foam. And then you pull off this heated up tape, all the paint comes off pretty well and you get a pretty clean plane. Later on the build, when the most modifications will be done, I will also do a little bit of sanding to make the surface as smooth as possible, to make the finished plane look as good as possible. Then it was time to begin on the design of the suspension of the main landing gear. So first step was to draw the design how the wishbones can look like. It's a double wishbone system, so I will have two wishbones on each side, one on the lower side, one on top. They will have the basic shape exactly the same, just the carbon cover I will wrap around will have a little different shape from top and bottom wishbone. But this is the design I decided to go for, which looks similar to the full-scale Scrappy wishbones. The green parts are brass tubes and all the pink parts are carbon plates I will install, and I will cover top and bottom side with complete cover plates just to make the wishbones really strong and look clean and look like a full carbon finish on the finished wishbones. The reason why I use brass tubes is that I cannot weld. I need a solution which I can solder. So brass tubes can be soldered pretty easy. What I did is this template. This template helps me to build all four wishbones in the exact same shape. I can just put the brass tubes in this template and I will get the exact same shape for all four templates. I was inspired from Mike Patey, how he built up his wishbones on the full-scale Scrappy. This was way more complicated, but the idea is similar. Like this, I have a perfect parallel line from the pivot point of the fuselage to the pivot point of the wheel. This setup will stay in the exact same shape for all 4 wishbones, and I think the result will be pretty clean like this. The plate is a simple 1.5mm steel plate. The profiles are aluminum, and I just put screws and shims through it to mount the profiles on the plate, and like this I have a nice stable template. After this I had to design the next parts. These are the templates for the mounts for the double wishbone. So stock shape is you just have one hole on each side for the single wishbone, which is stock landing gear, but on Scrappy landing gear with double wishbone you need 2 holes to mount the double wishbone system, and this is the design I figured out. I will build these 2 parts, front and rear mount, in carbon. This will be a 3-layer carbon plate, 5mm thick on the outer ends to make it really strong, and I will use the stock holes to screw the carbon parts onto the stock landing gear mount. I did a little offset of 2mm from the top pivot point to the lower pivot point of the wishbone. The reason for this is that this is the same angle like the fuselage have. I will add some foam on the belly just because the full-scale Scrappy also has a lower belly which covers the whole added landing gear mount, and this shape is the exact same shape like the offset I did on the 2 holes. Same thing for front and rear mount for the double wishbone system. So this is all the preparing and designing I did so far on the RC Scrappy project. I hope you liked the video. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a good time. Happy flying. Bye bye.